BIP300 drivechain. Let's talk drivechain. And I'm not a technical person, and I'm not qualified to tell you what's a technical issue or not with drivechain. But I listen to technical people who really study the code and did some research about it. Now I feel confident to put my voice on that, and my position is pretty neutral on that for now, because I'm still looking, I'm still studying about drivechain and why is it important, or why should we or why should we not implement drivechain. And it's not up to me, it's not up to the author, it's up to the Bitcoin ecosystem and the community as a whole, if they want to implement it. So it's really a matter of what the people want and what the people don't want. And in Bitcoin, anything that is being forced to be implemented will get rejected. That's the number one thing. And I don't know, guys, if you remember last year, I believe there was a talk about CDV. Was that guy wanted to push his own upgrade for CDV on the blockchain, and it got rejected because nobody wanted it, and to be implemented that way, right? Especially when you have a guy, right, come around and try to change things by pushing it to everybody, right, under your throat. And I don't like that. I don't like anything that's being pushed to me to force me to use it. Like, it doesn't feel good. And so that's the thing, right? Like, anything, if it's so important, right, if it's necessary to be implemented, it has to be an imperative. It has to be so, like, in my opinion, 100 times better, and it has to be a lot, like 1,000 times cost effective, better than having, like, let's say if you have to have a risk, right? The risk has to be like maybe at least 0.01%, and then the benefit would have to be 1,000x. Okay, so that's why I think we could have an implementation. Everything else should get rejected, in my opinion, because we live in an imperfect world with imperfect people who has imperfect thoughts and imperfect ideas. So Bitcoin is the only perfect thing I can see. So any improvement, right, is more likely to make it less perfect, not more perfect. So I don't believe that we have to trust the dev and to implement things, right? Probably don't. Yeah, so it's still a federated Bitcoin. So now I just kind of not trusting any kind of those fancy coding ideas and developers and try to push things. I just feel like we don't even know, like, if there's a need for it, if it's so important to be implemented, right, the mass majority would love it to be, right? Like when you have secret, because the overwhelming majority, right, we rather have secret right? Don't segue to X, right? They didn't want to have big blocks, right? For very few controlling the network, and then the plebs can't run a node. They didn't want that. So that what they said they need was small blocks, right? So the average person can run a node, right? So that's what they needed. With drivechain, you can have both. You can have basically a small block, right, which is would be the majority of the network. You have like people can still run down node, right, with the small blocks, right, and you can have something on the side chain, right. Basically, you have like a corporation or a group or a DAO, right, and then they just send out Bitcoin. Let's say they have 5 Bitcoin, right, and they send the 5 Bitcoin to that DAO, and then they want that DAO to be managed a certain way. They say, I want to implement like, let's say things like zero knowledge proof, right? Zk Snarks. They want to improve. They want to implement like things like proof of stake. All those nonsense they want to do. They can go send those 5 Bitcoin to that network, to that side chain, and then they just keep on tweaking it, do whatever they want with those 5 Bitcoin. That would have different and completely different things to do with the Bitcoin network. Those Bitcoin, they went there, they go there, and they don't have anything to do with the other real Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network, right? So it would just isolate them from the Bitcoin node, the small blocks. They could also have big blocks. Basically, with a big block, the confirmation time would be faster. Instead of 10 minutes, they could make it like 10 seconds, right? And then more blocks and then more transaction. But this would have to be like, we wouldn't have to run those nodes because those are our business, right? We don't have to care about them. So they can send the transaction back if they want afterwards, right? So this is basically what the idea is. I'm still neutral on what this can do. It's just the process I don't like. I don't like the fact that they're taking money to push that and upon people, and then just try to insult like the node runners and say, hey, we don't care about the node runners. I don't like that. So this is just the thing, and I think in order for this to be implemented, it needs more time, more procedures to take place, right? More discussion to happen in order for that to be a reality, right? It just has to take time. It just needs time and rigorous testing, much more rigorous testing, and see other ways we can implement the same thing, right? And try new ideas upon this, right? And then just do it in the test net before we can even think about doing anything real about it, right? And then everyone has to agree. Otherwise, there's no real benefit of implementing a thing that nobody wants. I mean, maybe like I would say 50 to 60 percent may want it, or let's say 45% want it, right? That doesn't mean it has to be like, I mean, most people who owns Bitcoin they're not on Twitter. They don't know about development. They just own their money, right? Bitcoin is basically a commodity, right? And if it has to be implemented, it has to be a soft fork. It's not a hard fork. You don't have to go take that Bitcoin. You can go to bed and your Bitcoin will be here, right? After 5 years, 10 years, 100 years. So you have to be soft fork. Basically, that means it's like a separate network that can operate on the side, right? A side chain. So to conclusion, I think time is the cure, right, for this problem. Time. Give it more time. If it takes 10 years, if it takes 20 years, 30 years, I don't care. Give it more time. If we really need it, it will be implemented. If we don't need it, it will just stay there. Anyways, guys, this was PieCover. And by the way, I don't think any type of code implementation can fix the shitcoin way that are happening. The shitcoin way is because people are greedy, they want money, they are looking for fiat money, right? It's not because they care about, like, you know, think Bitcoin. No, they just need money. Okay. Anyways, I'll see you guys again in the next talk. This was PieCover.